Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to try and do a general video, but we're also going to try and work on a reel that Brian has brought to me for service. He tells me that it has a very rough, almost sticking drag washer system in it. And I noticed when I did my test that you can hold the drag, but as you go to tighten this, boy, it's got all kinds of crazy little, you can even hear it as it skips. And the question Brian has, what causes that and how can we repair it? So I thought we would spend a couple of minutes on the cause, then we'll show you how to service this. This is a Shimano Cardiff 400A. It's in that family with the Corsair, the Cardiff, and the Calcutta. And it's a nice reel overall. But in this case, we've got an issue with the drag washers. Well, what happens to cause that issue? Let's start there before we get into the reel itself. And before I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel, particularly if you like the art of reel service and repair, if you like to learn about how reels are made, how to service them, how to diagnose issues and problems, how to correct them, and, well, how to keep your reel fishing for a long time to come. Then it's a great channel. I've built my channel, it's called Second Chance Tackle, around the idea that you can do this yourself, and it's all about teaching you the ways and the reasons behind why reels fail so that you'll be successful in keeping yours fishing for a long time to come. Very interesting issue here with this. What causes it? Well, most of the time it's in the drag washer set, not in the star adjuster. And what you will find on most reels, and there's a couple of different approaches to the reels, but the drags are essentially the same. And we can see here, well, we've got a lot of evidence here of salt water and debris and things like that in there. What does that cause? Well, here's a setup of a drag washer system that actually failed. There's a 6-washer system, and you're going to notice these 2 washers are stuck to the metals. These are alternating washers, so you will have a metal washer followed by a drag washer, and the drag washer will either be a fabric washer, a leather washer, carbon tex washer, Teflon washer. They're made of various materials, but you'll have that, and then you will alternate. You'll have a washer, usually the middle washer is called an eared washer. This one's stuck on there as well. And then you'll have a bottom washer, and same thing here, this one's stuck. Well, how did they get stuck? In order to gain your drag tension, you have a tensioner. This is a star adjuster. You saw it was clamped down all the way. Well, the clamping acts like a vise. It just compresses everything down. When you have the washers established, you have one that's a square. That's going to hold the gear sleeve firm. You have the one that has the points on it. That's going to hold the main gear firm. And as you clamp down, everything holds the 2 pieces together so that you have an effective drag washer. What happens when these occur is that you do not get the slide or the slip or the drag, if you will, associated with them because they're kind of glued on or stuck to the outside drag washers. So there's no slip when you go to move your drag washer stack. It's either all or nothing at all, or a very hard performance on that. And that's what's happened here. You can't remove this drag washer. And if you hold it and turn it, you should be able to, without any pressure on it, you should be able to turn this main gear. It's not turning. It's stuck. And that is what I believe has occurred here on the Cardiff. We're going to take this apart. We're going to examine it. We'll see if we can see kind of what we described here in terms of the washers being impacted by grease and dirt and salt and things like that. And then we'll see if we can get it going again. The good news is whatever was external there in terms of the salt and that has not affected the performance of the gear set. I did go out and order replacement washers. I told Brian I would do that before I even got started there. He had asked me to upgrade to the carbon tex, thinking maybe it was the materials that are the issue. I do not believe it's the materials that are the issue. I believe it's that the washers are dirty unfrozen, as we've kind of shown you in the examples here. Well, let's open this up and see what we've got. There's 3 screws that are holding your side plate, your gear side plate, onto the frame. So once you break that seal, you can turn these by hand. And then the plate should come off, and it does. It's just got an internal working to it. We're going to service the reel as well, so the easy thing to do, we've tested the bearings already. Just put some oil into the bearings. There's one there, there's one on your spool. I believe there might be one in here as well. We'll get that later. This line should probably be replaced. You can see that it's curling up. That's usually a sign that it's been stressed. By stress, I mean come under a lot of weight, fighting pressure. And it also gets that way from old, because monofilament does have memory, and the memory oftentimes just is a matter of just being on the reel spool for a long time. I'm just going to put a band over this so that the line doesn't get crazy on me here. I'll take that and put that right back into the frame. Well, let's go find out what's going on with those drag washers. Again, most of the time that something like this happens, it happens for a reason. Most of the time it's either that the washers are damaged, and that can be that the type of washer, and maybe it's totally worn, or maybe it's a washer that's torn, or maybe it's an old one that's just cracked because it was dry, and well, that just bundles up inside and causes a skip kind of a performance there. Let's find out what's going on with this one. There's 2 screws that hold the case on. Those are the 2 that I'm removing here. They're the 2 upper screws when you're looking at the gear side drive. There's 2 screws that hold a little retainer on for this. That screw here holds a little bump guard for the anti-reverse on some of the reels. All right, let's see if we can push this out. And we'll get our first look. So here's the 2 screws. Those are holding in the retention plate there for your anti-reverse clutch. The other screw's holding that plastic piece on. If you happen to have taken this reel off and now you're struggling with the orientation of the plastic piece, that's your look inside in terms of how it goes. I'm feeling salt inside here, so I'm thinking that's probably what's going on in here. And well, we'll continue on with this one. The inside of the reel is very clean. We have these 2 springs. I almost lost that one, so I like to get rid of those springs right away. And now we have a spacer sleeve for the anti-reverse clutch. It acts as the inner side that the anti-reverse clutch roller bearings are going to grab. This has got a little bit of grease on it, so let's clean that. Whenever you deal with a problem, just don't solve the problem. Take the time to clean the entire reel and service it. There's just not that much difference in time. And at the end of the day, you'll be happy you did it. It will extend the life. Here's that anti-reverse dog we were talking about. This is a secondary dog, and that's what's going to bump up against here so that it doesn't swing completely free. I never have luck getting these off. We'll see how we can do here. I think the first thing I'm noticing is we got the wrong drag washers in there. Those are undersized, or appear to be undersized. We'll take a check on that. And that could be a cause of the issue. And then this, for whatever reason, these washers just get stuck all the time. Yeah, we have an old washer here. So it looks like somebody may have replaced the top washer. Didn't replace the bottom washer. That's totally worn. Same thing here. This one looks like it's stuck. Oh yeah. So this is what we were talking about, right? This one is seized to the lower one. It's also been compressed. You can see that there's a ridge that's worn right on the outside here. So why are the washers not holding? It's pretty straightforward in this case. Those are worn washers. They weren't stuck like the other example. But what's happening here, because they are worn, and we see the ridge in the one, what's happening is that ridge here, that's on this washer, kind of melts itself around the outside rim. You can see that the washer's been compressed to the point where it's become elongated or bigger than the metal. And so it's come onto the side of the metal and it can't turn freely. It traps it. You can see the extension there in terms of how the overlap has occurred. So without a doubt, that is the cause of this particular reel failure. Let's see if we can get this main gear off. They just never have any luck. There's a snap kind of a component to this. Well, it didn't take much. There's just a little seal there for whatever reason on these. And here's our back. So we got a mixture of things here because that's not the original washer for the back. So I'm not quite sure what went on here. I think we probably have some sort of a haphazard repair. We have an undersized washer on the top. We have two very worn, stuck washers on the middle, and we have a new washer underneath. Go figure. Okay. You know, I don't see where the shortcuts work. And this one looks like it's been shortcutted. Somebody probably tried to address the issue and thought one, rather than replacing the whole set, they were going to replace the one. Never a good idea. So we'll go ahead and take care of that. While we're at it, we have this opportunity to show you the rest of the reel service, so let's go ahead and do that. We have the anti-reverse backup dog here. That's the fail-safe. This is the traditional forked or fingered anti-reverse dog. We have our click ratchet. The dirt on that, clean that up. We have our anti-reverse. This is the, I'm sorry, not the anti-reverse. We have our free spool release. Free spool release is in good condition, nice and clean. You don't need to do anything with that except make sure that it's oiled. The first thing I like to do is just kind of spray it down with some penetrating oil and let that sit for a moment. While we do that, I'm just going to take a moment to clean the rest of this. So there's a lot of dirt on the main gear, and a lot of what you do in terms of your service is taking the opportunity to inspect it, to clean it, and to get rid of the salt and the dirt that I'm feeling in here, re-lubricate it, and get it back out there fishing again. You can see the dirt inside the case, and that's further evidence of the squeeze that's been put onto those drag washers. I felt that as soon as I went to address the issue with the tightening down and loosening up. All right, these are Carbon-Tex. What's the advantage to Carbon-Tex? They're not going to tear. That's for sure. Long life, not going to tear. A superior product to a leather or a felt. Do you need Carbon-Tex washers? Generally, the answer is no. Most of the time, the engineers who design the fishing reels design appropriate drag washer systems for them. If you are having trouble with the drag washer systems that they've installed, for example, there's plenty of fishing reels out there, particularly Shimano spinning reels, that use a felt washer as the drag washer. The early Penn Battles, well, I'm sorry, not Battles, the Pursuits and the Fierce used a felt washer. Even up to the size 60s and above, the saltwater reels were using felt washers. They're perfectly fine unless you find yourself in an environment where you're tearing them up. In other words, you're fighting or punching above your weight class, if you will, with the reels that you have. In that case, take the opportunity, since you're going to change them anyway, to change them over to the Carbon-Tex, which will provide you that additional support. Well, here we go. This is kind of interesting all the way around. Here's the one washer. Here's the other that goes on the back of the main gear. Any difference there? You bet, right? Here's the replacement washer that was sitting up top. Here's what belongs there. Any difference in the diameter? Sure is. And when you look at a piece like that, not only are you using the wrong piece, which is going to disrupt the engineering in the reel, you're also sacrificing max drag. Max drag is a function of surface area, and if you've reduced the surface area because you've installed a smaller drag washer, then, well, you're going to lose on your drag component as well. All right, the flush is complete. Just work this if you like to figure out how this thing is going to trip. Work it back and forth, make sure that you're not seeing any broken components or that everything is good. And give it some good oiling now. I don't use the penetrating oil as a lubricant, I use it as a cleaner. Let's get rid of these small ones that don't belong here. Put that back in the stack there. Let's go rebuild the reel then. We've taken out the pinion gear, we're taking a look at it, it's very dry, it needs to be serviced. We cleaned it up, now let's put some lubrication on it. We're going to use fishing reel grease for this. I use Penn Precision reel grease. Yeah, it's not a Penn reel, it is a fishing reel grease, and that's what I recommend. Find your yoke and find the part that has the slanted side. That's going to face in, and so is the slot on the spool. Once you do that, you can bring this over, place this onto the carrier inside of it. Springs will go on there, but we're going to put them on later so that it don't shoot. And again, the slotted side is facing out to accept the spool. We've cleaned the click ratchet. Here's your anti-reverse dog. It's going to sit on this side like that. So bring this over, aim for the post at the back of the case. Now again, that gray piece in the case here is the bump part. I'll use my finger for that for now. As you're reeling it, it's going to kick it out. You can see how it kicks it out to allows it to turn freely. When you go to reverse, friction pulls it in to stop it. And again, that's a secondary, it's not the primary. This is the backing washer. We showed you that the other one was undersized. This does not need any grease or oil. Check the teeth on the main gear. I can't tell if this is tarnish or dirt, so I'm going to take a bristle brush and pull through on that. Carbon Tex washers are not permeable, so they don't require greases and oils. That's the whole idea behind the permeable ones. You got to keep them lubricated so that they don't dry out and tear. It's optional with this. If you do choose to use a grease, you need to wipe it off so that you can see the cross hatching on this. You need to install this washer onto the main gear rather than trying to put it on the post, because there's a lip here and you'll have a heck of a time trying to align that lip with the washer if you put the washer on first. Hold that and put that down. Oops, that was an oops. After you've cleaned the gear and inspected the teeth, grease is the next step. I use a artist's brush to spread the grease, available in any hobby store. I like the artist brushes, it doesn't shed the hairs. Some people use plumber's flux brushes and things like that. Whatever you're comfortable with, it's your reel, your maintenance, go ahead and do that. I pass along what I do so that you are aware of it. Snap that in place, and now we can rebuild. You have the broad hole washer, that's the one that goes underneath. We have the two washers, as I mentioned, are the keyed washers. They're going to hold the shaft in place. One of them is noticeably thicker than the other and also has two indents in it. That's your top washer that's going to accept the spacer for your anti-reverse. So the one that's the thinner one without the slots goes in the bottom. The next two are identical, and it doesn't really matter. I get this question frequently. It doesn't matter which side you put there, just be consistent with it. You have a fine grain side and a broader grain side. Doesn't matter. I'll put the broad side down. The middle washer is the eared washer that's going to hold your main gear. Make sure that that gets seated in place. Here's your top washer. Again, be consistent with the way that you put it down on the last one, but it's not going to make much of a difference. Top washer, that top washer has the slots. The slots accept the two studs that are in the back of this. And before we close the case up, yep, I almost forgot them again. There's the two little springs that are your yoke springs. So when you go into free spool, your free spool release mechanism is going to push this way. It's going to pull out and away from the spool. As we mentioned, the spool is here, the slot is on the spool. To get free spool, this has got to disconnect from the spool. It pushes this way. Those springs butt up against the back of the case here, and when you go to trip the lever, or in this case with the automatic trip, it's going to push all of this up, return this pinion gear in. These springs are going to help push it that way to engage and hold there. All right, we are done with the inside of this. You can bring the case over. And we want to align so that we have the two screw holes here to accept the two screws that we removed. Now you'll notice I didn't clean or touch the roller clutch. That's a friction-driven device. This one was dry inside when I inspected it. You do not need to oil it. Actually, oiling tends to hurt the free spool mechanism because it's a friction-driven device. Oil gets onto that anti-reverse collar, and well, from time to time it slips. So if you've over-greased or over-oiled that piece, make sure that you understand that that could be the cause of any issues that you're having. Okay, so we've just shown you why drag washers stick. We gave you an example here, and kind of the ones that came out of another reel that were damaged. And then we showed you the various problems we had with this one. Two very worn drag washers that probably should have been replaced earlier. One undersized washer from the back end of the main gear, and one undersized washer on the top. So it's probable that one of these snapped, and well, when it snapped, somebody just grabbed one that had the inner diameter correct and put that on there. I don't encourage anybody to do that. All right, we can reload the gear side now. When you go to reload the gear side, two things. You want to take your free spool release lever and push down on that. You'll notice how that pulled that main gear, or the pinion gear, back into the case. That's what we were talking about before. And when you trip this, those springs will push it back up the other way. This stud is what rides on top of that little mechanism there, so you need to make sure that that stud is pulled all the way up before you load your case. You also have brakes in here. Make sure that your brakes are inside the ring when you go to install. When you put the plate on like that, which went on very nicely, check the seams to make sure that you're not binding, that they're nice and even. Hand tighten down with your screws. And then the final turn can be done with the screwdriver. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, if you leave those questions in the comment section, I'll try to answer those for you. Maybe you're having a problem similar to what Brian had as a problem, and maybe we can show you how to correct that. All right, we're tightening these down one final little bit. Make sure that it turns. You're tight. We can turn our attention to those tension washers. Again, I just kind of use this paper towel to clean things. These have bellies in them. It's a set of 4, so I put the belly up on the first one. By belly, I mean the internal side where the outer rims are higher than the inner side. And I reverse. Then I reverse again, belly up, belly down. That sets the internal piece. The last time I took that off, it was a little tight, so I'm going to just pull on the threads just to clear up anything that might be in there. And then let's hand line that. Yeah, it's going nice and easy now. Don't surprise yourself if you trip this when you're doing this now. Continue to tighten that down. Now he gave me 2 handles here, and I'm not quite sure which one he's using. This one has the handle with the nuts on it, and this one's in a leveraged handle for the reel. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to get in touch with him to find out. But to complete the service, let's go back to what he has here. This is the paddle handle for the Shimano. Usually there's a little, yep, there it is, little spacer or tension washer between the two. That's so that you don't over tighten and trap the star adjuster. And the handle goes on. Our handle nut cap goes on. If this is not going on easy, if you can't tighten it like this, and if you find that the handle is at an angle, then you don't have that on right, don't go crazy trying to tighten it up. Just back it off and redo that. That's a common failure that people have, and then they have a stripped gear post, and they have to go buy new parts. Okay, if you have the point of the nut cap facing that hole, generally this retention clamp will line right up with it. In this case it does. And we have one more screw here. And those of you that know me and little screws know that even though it's the last one, it may be a problem. Alright, we only have one more thing to do on this reel, and that's to go service the line guide pawl. Move that over here. This has got points on it. It's a plastic cap. Almost invariably, some of those points go missing as people over tighten them. It'll work to a certain extent with some of them. After a while you may need to replace them, and in this case we have a missing tooth. That comes from over tightening that cap. So you need to be aware, if you're servicing your line guide pawl, be gentle with that cap. Alright, we're going to pull the pawl out here. If we can. There we go. Because you want to clean that. And also clean the inside of the case. Get a cotton swab, run that inside in case there's any stickiness. Now if your worm gear was dirty and this one is not, just mat over a piece of a paper towel, hold it like that, turn your worm gear, and that will remove the dirt and debris from there. And if you need a little extra assist with that, you can go with putting some penetrating oil on as a degreaser. Alright, there's a little bit of dirt on the shoulders of this, so I'm going to clean that off. Inspect again, we can replace this. And to me, the only way to do this is to put it off to the side, because, well, my fingers just don't work when it gets to the middle. And sometimes I need help with a little pliers here to get that set right. Get that in there. Easier said than done some days. A little bit of oil so that it spins freely. Push down with your finger. Hold your finger on that and turn until you feel it pull down and in. We can grab our cap with the missing tooth. And again, you need to be careful with this not to over torque it, because you can crack other teeth. You lose too many of them, you need to replace the cap. That is a design flaw in this generation of Shimanos. So you'll find that on the Corsair, you'll find that on the Calcutta and the like. You need to be aware of it. We're not going in square on this. Well, while I'm doing this, I want to take a moment to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. Day in, day out, you're putting your life on the line to protect ours, and I appreciate that. Thank you for all it is that you do. All right, we've just got it square now. How did I know these little tags were not lined up with your line guide? So it's time here to just clean off the deck a little bit. We'll give it a ride. Oh, that's nice and smooth. All that new greases and oil will certainly do that for you. Nice tight drag system. And now we have the full range of motion with that adjuster. There's nothing creaky or cracky about that. Well, further help or hint here, when you're not using your drag end of the trip, back that star adjuster off so that it doesn't clamp it in and, well, seize it up there over time. Or it doesn't wear it down, either way. Okay, one more test. We go into free spool, spins nicely. If you need to adjust the speed of your spool, you have your spool adjuster on the side here. If it's spinning too freely, tighten it up. If it's not spinning freely enough, back it off. Click it. Next up, call Brian, find out if he wants this handle or the other handle, and get it back out there fishing. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this channel. Thank you for helping making this channel what it is. I appreciate all of your feedback and input. I appreciate your watching. And again, if you like this, please like it. If you want to see more, again, please subscribe. And I hope this has helped you in keeping your reel serviced and ready to go fishing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.